I'm Tana Bagley. I have been an agent for just about 4 years now, and I'm on a small team, the Kennedy Group, and it's been great. A lot of hard work, but yeah, I do not regret my career choice, and I came from kind of like 20 years in the medical field in all sorts of different ways, like working as a medical assistant and then working like as an office manager and a couple other positions. And I was a director of a mental health clinic for a few years before I just like kind of had this realization one day of like, I built a really successful business. And I work really hard and I sacrifice a lot of time with my family, and it's somebody else's. Never going to be, mine. This is never going to look like what I want it to look like for my future. But but really proud of the business that I helped build, and all the therapists and doctors and receptionists that I always worked with are my biggest referral sources now. So that's been great. And a lot of things transfer over. We find that too. A lot of things, regardless of the industries we've been in, a lot of our experiences transfer over to real estate. So kind of discovering like your superpowers, right? From, your past experiences or past education, whatever too. So, but that's a little bit about me. Tell me a little bit, like, I want to know your names and kind of, what brought you into real estate and how long you've been doing this.
I'm Michelle Reed. I've been here since May. Awesome. And I have always loved real estate, and I should have gone into it back when I was younger, and then I had kids, and I had kids for so long, and they're now self-sustaining, so I'm just like, okay, well, what am I going to do with myself now? And I was like, do what I wanted to do.
Awesome. Like, it's time. Yes, awesome. Well, perfect. Welcome, and good to meet you.
I'm Shay Edmondson. I got my license last year, but I was in school and doing different things, so I didn't really do anything with it. And so I'm in college right now, like studying finance with a minor in real estate, and I really wanted to do real estate. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it, even though I feel like I'm in a busier time in my life right now, but I feel ready to get started. And I kind of similar. My dad did real estate. I don't know. I've always loved homes. I used to be like obsessed with the show Fixer Upper, and I always thought, well, like, I want to do interior design stuff, but then I kind of realized that like the business side of things a lot more.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I want to start it. So
yeah, very cool. Awesome. We're excited for you. Yes. Great. Should we go this way first? Yeah.
I'm Carolyn Tyler, and I'm just starting out. I got my license last fall, and I just had a few little health issues where I got in a car accident.
Oh, darn.
So I'm just getting back in
Yeah.
and coming to Keller Williams as I'm excited about the things I'm learning here. And I have worked in vacation rental sales and really enjoyed that. And my husband is a builder, contractor, and I work with him a lot. And I always have enjoyed the construction, building homes, finding deals for people.
Awesome.
And finally doing my own thing.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Oh, I'm excited. Wonderful.
David Furley. I've been here for about 3 weeks. Spent the last 12 and a half years in promo sales. And then my degree's in psychology, so I actually worked in residential health. And so been wanting to do real estate for about 5 years. My wife loves to put me to work and do projects on our own house. So we've done that a couple of different times. So now we're just seeing what we do things do.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and that psychology comes in handy because we act as therapists sometimes, right? When we are, talking through stressful situations with clients and stuff too, and helping people kind of self-discover really where they want to be and kind of what their big why is too. So, okay. Well, today we are talking about lead follow-up. So when you're getting into real estate, like, was your first thought like, I'm going to be a prospector and Following up with leads. Like, is that one of your first thoughts when you thought about real estate? Probably not. No. And even now, like, it can kind of become a real stumbling block if we really just only look at it as like leads and following up and prospecting. It's a big part of our business, but I think when we look at it as a relationship business, right? We're building these relationships and we're putting in the work to build those relationships. So putting in the work looks like following up with all of our people, whether that's our sphere, our friends and family, acquaintances, or that's, true leads too, people that we only know because of real estate, or, we are attracting those leads, through marketing and those sort of things too. But ultimately, it's a relationship business and we have to put in the work to build those relationships. We have to earn their trust. We need to earn being top of mind. And the way we do that is through following up with our leads. So at this point, is anybody like having leads coming in at any point at this point so far? Like, do you have like a lead source yet, or kind of just getting started? Okay. Have you had some, like, based on some of the classes you've gone to and agents that you've talked with, or like imagining how you want your business to look, like what are some of the potential lead sources you kind of see?
For me, I like wanting to, which I don't know if this will actually happen, but like I like TikTok a lot, and I feel like I know how to use that social media, and so I wanted to like try to use that more to try and attract people, because like you can kind of target like your audience and everything to younger people.
Yeah.
Because like younger people are first time users. So
sure.
That's something that I thought.
Yeah. Make sure you follow Becca Summers on all her social media. She's figured that out. Like, her lead follow up or her lead generating is through social media. Yep, and she does really great too. I think Becca does more on TikTok and stuff. I think Jen sticks a little bit more to Facebook and Instagram. Yep. Yeah, Becca Summers. Yeah. And so there are a few exceptions, like some of these agents who maybe aren't in the office making their calls for several hours a week. And they've really figured out like social media as a way to generate those leads. One really organic way, one of my favorite ways still to generate new leads is through open houses, hosting open houses. Because I have found if I can meet somebody face to face, right? Like the conversion rate is much higher for me. Like whether that's if I meet them on the phone and then I get them into the office, but if I can just meet them face to face for the first time and get into a good rapport with them. So open houses are a great lead generating source. And I'm sure, and if you haven't gone to classes already, there's classes about generating leads. So today we'll focus a little bit more on the follow up, but just looking at a few different places where we might have leads coming in, so we have kind of the appropriate follow-up too. Any other ideas of kind of generating leads, or a way that you want to potentially, generate leads or have business come in?
For me, as I've just been starting out, I've been working with people I know, family members, and my husband's in the construction business, and working with people he's working with, and it's slow going. But one lady that I'm working with, I'm just always trying to follow up with her. She travels internationally a lot, and not wanting to be a nuisance to her, but keep on checking in with her, and I find that for me and for my life, it seems like it's a good fit to at least through the network of my husband's construction and people I know, family members.
Those referrals, right? Yeah, so referrals. And we have to ask for those referrals too, right? So not being afraid to ask. There's one framework that my team had kind of talked about over the last couple of weeks, like an value, ask. So like when we're making a phone call or we're doing some pop buys or things like that, like providing something of value. And, maybe it's like, hey, I've had my eye on this home in your neighborhood, or I hosted an open house at this home in your neighborhood. Would you be interested in an equity report, to know how much equity you might have in your home? So that would look like a market analysis, right? So like that's offering value to them and then asking, who else do you know that might be interested? Who else in your neighborhood, could this be a value to?
I think a lot of people, even my kids who are nervous to buy because of the interest rates and everyone thinks that, it's just not a good time to buy. But, we bought this townhome we're in right now. We had just come back to Utah after living out of state for a few years. And we bought when they were really high. And I was like, oh, we should just rent. But, even though we bought it at that price, we have saved all that money in rent,
Yeah.
And when we sell to move on, we'll have not lost really any money. And I think that's a good value to value ask type scenario to talk about the money that actually people will save by buying instead of renting.
For sure. Like, hey, would you be interested? Like, I can offer you a rent versus purchase analysis, like let's look at the money you would spend over 5 years, like, would that be something of value to you if I sat down and prepared that for you? And then, especially, some young kids or young families, and it's like, who else do you know that's been waiting to buy because prices are high or until interest rates come down? Yeah.
Sorry.
You're good.
On top of that, for first-time homebuyers, there is the grant program that Utah is doing right now that you can always check to see if they qualify for. But a lot of sellers are offering help for 2-1 buy down, but you can also ask them to instead put that money towards permanent buy down.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing. So.
Well, and even just beginning like offering value would be like, are you aware of some of the programs available that help first-time homebuyers? Are you aware of some of the zero or low down payment options for first-time homebuyers? Are you aware of some of the concessions and things available that actually help you get a lower interest rate? Would it be worth your time to sit down and look through these, look through some of these options? So yeah, coming from a place of value. And then once again, you can turn around, who else do you know that has had these same hurdles? Who else do you know that's been waiting to get into a home because they thought they needed to save up a 20% down payment? Those kind of things too. Yeah.
House prices are just getting up.
Yes.
They keep going up.
Yep. This handout is not perfect because I quickly put it into ChatGPT to help me do it real quick, but it kind of gives us a little bit of a framework and then somewhere for you to take some notes too. But if you don't already have a copy of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, make sure you get one. And also, I would say download it on Audible and listen to it. Like, keep it simple. These are the frameworks that Gary Keller has put into place that have worked through every market. Of course, there's things that you can tweak and change based on different technology that's available and the different markets that we're going through. But there's a section that just lays out framework for following up with your leads. And so it's all about systems, right? So we need to have a system when we're marketing and following up with our database. And so there's, a chapter that goes through and it lays out. Have you guys heard of an 8x8 or like heard the terms 8x8 or 36 touch or anything like that at this point? Okay. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can tweak things and change things. Like if you're going to do a lot on social media, Like some of the things that are maybe like a postcard would make more sense on like an actual post or a share or DMs and things like that, right? So, but there's some really good frameworks for you to follow, because I think sometimes too, and you're like, okay, I know I need to time block. So has that kind of been drilled into your head yet? Like time blocking and like actually setting aside time for lead generating every week. So whether you've been in the business for a day or 10 years or 20 years, like you've got to have that time set up on your calendar that you're following up with your people. If your people are new leads or your people is your database, friends, family, like whoever it is that you're marketing to, there has to be time every week that you have set aside on your calendar that you're making those calls, you're making those touches. Maybe yours is more the social media, like Becca's not making calls every week, but like somebody like Dan Kennedy that I work with every day that's also been in the business for 18 years, he's making his calls every day. He's not making a TikTok post every day. And so whatever that looks like, it's got to be on your calendar. When I had probably been in the business like 2 years, and my husband's been really involved with helping and supporting me to get my business growing. And so we had kind of a conversation about my calendar and like this lead gen and kind of like what my days look like or whatever. And so my basic week, I usually have 6 or 7 hours on my calendar that is lead gen. And it looks a little bit different every week, but some of the days look the exact same. Like Monday mornings, I've got 3 hours where it's all basically phone calls, and it's all my leads, and it's whatever letter in my alphabet I'm on with my SOI. And then on Wednesdays, I focus on doing my 8x8. That's a weekly follow-up that we'll talk about a little bit more too. But I was talking about my lead gen time and my phone calls and stuff. And so at this point, my husband's gotten to know my team really well and knows Dan, and he's like, and Dan's very successful, and he's like, well, surely Dan's not making calls every week still after 18 years, and like, Dan is the most consistent person making the most phone calls every single week. And that's what he does. That's his one thing, is he does his lead gen, and he's consistent in his follow-up, and he's making those calls every week, doing the follow-up. So like, I know like it tends to look a little bit different than what we imagine when we think about hopping into real estate. And then there are all of those fun things where we are out hosting open houses and showing homes and writing contracts and negotiating deals, and we're at the closing table and we're like taking the pictures and congratulations and closing gifts and great reviews and all of those things. So that all comes too. So the picture of real estate that you have in your head is there still, but you have to put in the work to earn those things too. And that's through building those relationships with follow-up. But let's look a little bit at this. Let's see, I think I've got the 8x8 on here. So let's start with this. So I'm just going to get the board here so we can kind of write some other ideas. This is dry erase, right? Okay. So yeah, I found that 45 is the age that you start going like this. You can't read anything up close. Okay, so an 8x8 is typically like, so for a new lead, or this is kind of your unmets. These are the people that you don't know yet. And I'll throw somebody in from an open house into an 8x8 too, especially if they're like, they came to the open house, but they're not like ready to write an offer or like ready to commit to me being their agent or meet with me at an appointment or whatever. But so leads, so maybe if you're, you have a lead coming through social media, or you advertise for an open house, or you have somebody, reaching out to you over Facebook, those kind of things. There's, I don't want to go too far down the path of like generating leads, because I know that's kind of another class, but there's all sorts of different ways to generate leads. And then once you have somebody's contact information, right, you've got their name and their phone number and their email address, are the 3 things you for sure want to have. Getting a physical address would be the next step, but having at least those 3 things. So 8x8, that is if you haven't met them and you're going to contact them once a week for 8 weeks straight, consistently. And why do you think we would do that? Are they going to know my name after 8 weeks? They're going to know who I am. But they're also going to know I was providing them something of value. I wasn't just every week saying, hey, this is Tana from Keller Williams. Are you going to buy a house yet? Hey, Tana from Keller Williams. Just wanted to see if you want to buy a house yet. So I'm going to provide them with something of value once a week for 8 weeks. By the end of that 8 weeks, I have solidified myself in their brains as a local real estate agent that offers value. That's my goal by the end of those 8 weeks. So ultimately, of course, I want to get them in, get an appointment with them, sit down, talk about their needs and their goals, and have an agreement signed with them. But my goal of the 8x8 is so that at the end of those 8 weeks, they know who I am. They know I'm the local real estate agent, and I'm providing value to them. So let's go over, let's see. When I had ChatGPT do it, I just asked them to give me like a basic 8x8. But we'll also look at some of the ones in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. But let's add in a few things that maybe are a little bit more appropriate based on how you'll be doing business and like with some of the technology that we have right now too. The first thing that I want you to do though is on this number 1 on our intro caller text, it says just wanted to say hi. I'm going to cross out the word just. I want you to eliminate just from your vocabulary, especially when it comes to making phone calls. Because we want to have equal business stature with them, right? Like I'm calling you because you're in the market for a home and I have something of value for you. We're not calling to say, I just wanted to call because I was just hoping you would have mercy on me and talk to me, you know, like begging them for a phone call. Oh, yes, go right ahead. Yep. Do you want one, Cameron?
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't include you guys.
No, I felt so left out.
I'm so
What's
sorry.
going on? No, I'm just kidding.
We had to cross out just, right? We're a little... Oh, perfect. I got to cross that out of mine now. I saw that after I printed these and I was like, no.
No, but it's better because now we see the
Yes,
concept,
that's right.
right?
It's
So
more
it's like-
emphatic.
Exactly.
Maybe we wouldn't have talked about it if it wasn't on there.
Yeah,
Okay. It was meant to be.
Yeah, that did good there.
Yes. So eliminate just from your vocabulary. But just going on. So yeah, the first thing we should do, we should be giving them a call. You can send a text to, like, if you can get voice to voice, like you're just going to get further, right? Because that makes you a real person. But with a lot of like the young adults, like you'd prefer to get a text, right? Yes. And some young adults won't answer their phone ever.
GM.
Yes, a DM. Yep, just snap me, you know, and then I'm like, wait, hold on, let me get logged in. But whatever you do, like, just make sure you're having that, like, I'm coming to you, I'm introducing myself, and I'm bringing value to you. Not just, I just want to talk to you and please talk to me, you know, equal business stature, coming to it. And so I think too, before you start your follow-up, before you start your lead gen any day, like, think about what you have to offer, right? Even if you're brand new in real estate, like, you've got skills to talk to people. And you know you have all the resources that you need to get all the answers that you need for these clients, right? You know that if somebody's ready to meet with you, you're going to be able to call Cameron and say, I've got my first buyer's appointment. Like, I need to go through this, right? So whether it's like sitting down and doing a mock buyer's appointment with somebody, you know, walking through the contracts when you're ready to write an offer, like, you know, you have access to all the resources that you need. You have access to hundreds and thousands of years of experience with the agents here that are willing to help you and sit down with you that you can call. right? Your broker, Cameron, other agents. You have resources for everything that you need. So, like, feel that confidence, right? And then also know that the different industries that you've been in so far, the life experiences that you have, the education that you have, like, you have what you need to bring value to these people that you're talking to. So remind yourself of that every day. Sometimes it's harder. Some days it's harder, and you want to go back to the like, well, I'm kind of brand new and I don't really know what I'm going to talk about. And just remind yourself. And if you're feeling a lack of confidence, then just think about things that you can do, like studying the market a little bit more that week, looking at the statistics, going through, listings and things like that. Just really familiarizing yourself with the market, just taking in as much as you can so that you can build that confidence a little bit more every week too. But hey, 4-on-1, we're gonna make an introduction, right? So whether it's a call or a text. So number 2, like we have sending a handwritten note. I will do that, especially if I'm able to get their address. Like if I've either met them or I've had a conversation with them, then I will send them a handwritten note. So if I've had that first conversation with them, I'll ask them if I can get their address just so I can include them when I send out postcards. I'll even let them know, hey, sometimes we do fun events throughout the year and we send out some really valuable information. Can I add your address to your contact information so I can include you in those things of value? And so that's an easy way to get an address. You can also use Forewarn if you subscribe to that from UCAR. If you don't have that, I would highly suggest getting it through UCAR. It's $60 for the year. Not only does it give you access to being able to, find an address for somebody, the biggest thing that's for is for safety too. So, like if I have a phone number for somebody, I have their name, phone number, I can actually look them up. It will show me like a criminal history, things like that. So, like I've been ready to go meet with somebody that's called on a listing. I've never met them before. I'm going to meet with them by myself. And like, a registered sex offender. So I'm like, can somebody go with me? Or, So, and I mean, I've never been in a dangerous situation at all, but, I was able to prevent being, I was able to feel more comfortable too. Or, I also keep my location shared with a team member and my husband and say, hey, I'm going to meet with this person I've never met with before. If you don't hear from me in 30 minutes, here's my location, those kind of things. But Forewarn is a great resource for safety, but it also can be help you access addresses and information that you maybe weren't able to get already. It's kind of pricey if you don't get it through UCAR, but if you get it through UCAR, it's like $60 a year. But what's something that could take the place if you don't want to send a handwritten note? Like what would you do instead of a handwritten note to somebody? Maybe you met them in an open house, you called them one week, and now it's the next week. Yeah, so share a relatable post for them. Okay. And then the next week, sending them an email. So like a local market update. You guys have probably seen UCAR will send it out once a month, or just the local statistics. Shows how many homes have sold, how many are on the market, if the median home price is up or down compared to the same month last year. So these are some things too that at some point you can start putting together yourself, like branding them and stuff for you too. But while you're just trying to get started, there's resources for you to use already too. And, and the office does a really good job at having resources available for you to use. But yeah, sending an email the next week. So, something that's going to be applicable for them, market information, a guide. Shoni's taught a lot with AI and different ways that, you can ask AI to build you a guide for something. So if you knew somebody was interested in an investment property, make a little first-time investor guide. and you can brand that and you can email that out to somebody. So some sort of relatable email the following week. I usually keep like 4 email templates. So I have like a social media invite one, like it's an email like saying, hey, one great way to keep a pulse on the market is by following us on social media. And then I have links for my team's social media page with like a couple of our popular posts, something like that. Or like, hey, you're looking to buy or sell at any point, this is valuable information, and it includes like some market reports. So an email the next week. And another week you can do, just a social DM or a comment. So in that one, I try to search them out and follow them or, friend them on Facebook. That makes me old when it's Facebook, right? But if it's people that are, my age too, then I'm, asking them to be my friend on Facebook. I'm following them. And once again, it's really easy to like get in your head and be like, well, I don't want them to think I'm being weird or whatever, at this point, I reach out to them 3 weeks in a row. And they're like, oh, that realtor that I met or that realtor I've talked to a time or two is following me or asked to be my friend, or I'm now seeing her on TikTok. So, just engaging with them on social media. And then you can make a comment on their post or, send them a DM or whatever too. And then we're going to follow up with another text. So same thing, value text. So don't just say, hey, I'm following up with you again. Are you still looking for homes? But like just something of value. Like, hey, this is an interesting article. I thought could be of value for you. Or you mentioned this, and here's some information that relates to that, So part of this in your follow-up is going to be you taking notes too, right? So if you're using command, you've got all your people in command, make sure every time you're talking to them, you're making a note, right? Like you want to remember which open house they came through. You want to remember what they talked about. You want to remember like if there's just anything that stood out so that you can then give them information that's actually going to stand out to them and says, hey, that person listened to me. Oh, she remembered that I mentioned this, relocating, job change, family growing, just browsing because they like going to open houses every Saturday. That happens too. So whatever it might be. And then this one also lists, it says an educational video. So yes, you can send them like a tips and tricks or something like that. But I just want to add to that a recorded video. Of yourself. So these tend to get some really good engagement. This would just be you doing a quick, like 20, 30-second recording of yourself on your phone and sending that to them through a text instead of calling or texting them that week. So it's just like get your face in front of them again too, right? And just reminding them like, hey, I don't know if you remember, but you reached out to me about this listing. And I want to let you know my office is just here in Orem. If you have any other questions, I'd love to just, make sure you have all the resources that you need. Super simple. Don't overcomplicate it. And I know that kind of takes, I don't know, for me, it's totally out of my comfort zone, but I just do it anyways, and I don't watch them. I just like record it, send it, because if I watch it, I'm going to re-record it 10 times. I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, the lighting was horrible. I totally stumbled over my words right there or whatever. I'm like, nope, I am just recording it and I am sending it because I think it makes us more relatable too. Just makes it more personable, more relatable. And then guess what? It's done. And you got 10 done in the time it would have taken you to do one. So record it, send it. those have been really, really good as far as like getting people to actually like respond and remember who I am, is sending out those quick little recorded videos to people that I don't know. And then I started doing those too, even when I'm under contract with people, whether I know them really well or I don't know them so well. Like if I have an update I need to give them that's kind of in between, it doesn't really need a phone call, but I'd like to give them a little bit more than just a text message that day, then I'll record a little video and send it to them. Yeah.
What about the audio text? Do you ever do those?
Not to clients, I don't really. You definitely could. I've done the videos. You definitely could. I'll do that to a lender or something sometime, or like one of my, like a vendor if I'm sending somebody, like if somebody needs an HVAC guy and it's kind of going to be a longer text, but I'm also too busy to make a phone call, be like, hey, I gave this person your number. Here's their name and number. This is what they need. And I'll send them a video, or sorry, a recording. But yeah, I mean, I think that a recorded text too, and especially where we're looking at sending them something once a week for 8 weeks, like that could be one of those things.
How do you, I was going to ask, have you done enough to see if you are getting positive responses on that? Do people prefer the video or the audio or the text?
I have found that I get more responses from the videos. Yeah. Like I'll get that somebody at least liked it, or they, will reply to me and just, even if it's just thanks. Or once I've had them in my 8x8 and then I move them over to like a 36 touch, they have remembered that video text that I sent them. It's funny how when like maybe it's a year down the road or 6 months down the road and you finally meet with somebody or you finally do a deal with them, and then they bring up why they chose you. And so, like, I, met with somebody, and they're like, "Oh, like, you listened to me, and then, you sent me that video text or whatever. You remembered what I talked about." Most of the time, it comes down to me, like, listening to them. And so, whatever information I'm giving them, whether it was through a text or a video or the appointment that we had, like I remembered what we talked about, and to them that's like they listened to me. And I think a lot of that, I do end up working with a ton of first-time home buyers, and so I think some of that too is it makes them feel safe, like they don't feel like they needed to know everything, or like they felt okay, they didn't feel silly for having no idea where to start or what to do. And so usually it comes down to however I'm communicating with them, it's come down to that I've listened to them. So yeah, I would try the video. I would try the recorded text too. And then for anything, you just kind of have to try it long enough and then see what you're getting the best responses to. So yeah.
Is this something that you've been doing since like the very beginning? Is it something that you kind of moved towards later on?
It has like ebbed and flowed a little bit. Like when I am doing a really good job and sticking with my systems, I start seeing the results, right? Like 3 and 4 months later. And then I get really business with my now business, or the family's really busy at that time, and I slack off on my 8x8 or my 36 touch. And then 3 or 4 months from that, I noticed a dip in my business. So yes, my 36 touch, I started right off the bat. And part of that was I joined an established team really early on who was really good at their systems and had a 36 touch in place. And the expectation from me was that I do my part in that 36 touch with my people. So like I was held to a high level of accountability too. And so, yeah, the 36 touch has been something very consistent in my business kind of from day one. The 8x8, I have not been as consistent on, But in the times when I do stay really consistent with it, 100% I see results from it. Yep.
What is the program that you use to track all of your progress of everything you do?
It's similar to Command. Like my team uses a different, like it's a CRM, right? It's called Follow Up Boss, but it's very similar to Command. So, I mean, Command is what you have set up for you that you pay for already and allows you to track all of these things and set up systems too.
But you just use this other one.
Yeah, yep. And some of it is too, like you just, if you've got everybody you know in your database in Command, I can send out to you guys too. There's a DTD2 schedule. It basically gives you a schedule that you can follow through the year. So every week, you know what letter of the alphabet of your people you should either be calling or texting to keep you on schedule with that. And then we've got it outlined, just like I said, you don't have to like invent the wheel or invent your systems. Like it's in here. Like there's a 36, they actually have it as a 33 touch in here. It's now a 36 touch, but I've got it, I think it's 36 on here. So it gives you that outline. So you don't have to think about like, what should I be doing? You might just need to think about how do I want to do this one? How do, do I want to do automated emails? Do I want to do batch emails? Those kind of things too. So some of that you will have to kind of decide like, how am I going to do this? And, when you're new and stuff too, like you're just kind of doing it all yourself, right? So like figuring out how to send out those batch emails and how you want to do that. Making those phone calls, the text messages, and then even like, let's finish going through the 8x8 real quick, and then we'll move on here to the 36 touch too and finish up talking about those. We talked a little bit about an educational video, a pop by. So pop buys are awesome. And it can be something super, super cheap and super, super little. So a pop by would be like, maybe you do a bag of popcorn and you have AI help you come up with a little graphic of something that relates to real estate and popping by, right? And you do a cute little card and you're going to go drop that off to all your friends and family. Being new in the business, it's a great time to do pop buys because you can do like hey, this is what I'm doing now. Like this is like your reveal, and you're gonna go drop it off to their house, right? You can do just a letter too. Like I did a letter to everybody that I knew, like just kind of this is what I'm doing now, and included 2 business cards saying one to keep for yourself, one to pass on to somebody that you know, and just really sharing with them that I valued, that they know me, trust me, and like me, and when they're ready to do business or have any questions, I'm ready to be a resource. But pop buys are great too. Just knocking on the door, trying to have a conversation, and once again, you're just bringing them something of value, fun, friendship, building those relationships. And of course, we have AI that can give you a million different ideas for pop buys. You're like, hey, my budget is $1 per person. What can I do? And then sometimes you might do something a little bit bigger once you're, doing some business and have maybe past clients that you're doing, like maybe they did a deal with you that year. So maybe they're going to get like a pie at Christmas time or something like that. But in the beginning, like it can really be like something very inexpensive. So you can order bulk, like magnets, like maybe a little measuring conversion chart, or there's little like conversation starters, that you can have with your school age kids, and on a little magnet that are branded with you, those kind of things. And then the 8x8, this one has it ending with just a direct ask. That would be more for like asking for the appointment. For me, it would be like at that point, like, hey, it's never too early to meet. If you are, thinking about buying a home for the first time, it's never too early to get some education. Does it make sense for you to get together in my office for 30 minutes so we can walk through the home buying process? answer all your questions. But there's lots of different ways you can do the 8x8. The most important thing is just being consistent. Like I said, it's like, that's my Wednesday mornings. My Wednesday mornings is my time to do my 8x8. So, and that's something like, so I have to track who I have as an 8x8. So you should be able to set, like, label people in command, you know, make sure you have them labeled in some way or a tag on there some way that you know who's in your 8x8. All right, 36 touch, we'll just go through that really quickly because I do want to give you guys a couple of conversation frameworks that you guys can practice a few times and just, you know, be ready to make some phone calls too in a really comfortable, confident way. So our 36 touch, you know, that looks like 12 calls or texts a year. So that means, you know, we are reaching out to them by phone call, text message, you know, at least once a month. And 12 emails or newsletters, so that's like a monthly email going out to them. That's pretty self-explanatory. 4 client events or pop-bys, 4 mailers or handwritten cards, 4 social media touches. So this can look a lot of different ways. So when we think about like mailers or birthday cards, when you think about mailers or handwritten cards, like if you have a couple, they both have birthdays, right? So that's really easy. That's a birthday card for one of them each in that year. They, you know, like ideas would be like Mother's Day card, Father's Day cards, and then those phone calls and those text messages throughout the year. So those are the things that you kind of have to decide what works for you in your business. But regardless of what that looks like, just have a way to track it and have a way to be consistent. Okay? And that's going to really help you just to be top of mind, the go-to real estate agent for everybody that you know. Okay? All right. Any questions on any of that? Sorry, I find myself just like talking too much sometimes. Okay. All right. Well, let's flip over to the back side of the page. You can do a little bit more research on your own about kind of like farm areas. So farm areas, one thing with farm areas, it can be a little bit more expensive because I feel like you have to do a little bit more printed material and things like that. Like that, it's more of a geographical area. So, you know, it can be your own neighborhood, or maybe it's a neighborhood that you want to be the real estate agent in.
So define farm area.
Just picking a geographical area.
Okay.
So like maybe,
One is work.
yes, that you want to work. So like an ideal farm area, when I think about a farm area, I'm like, okay, if there is an Edge development or a D.R. Horton development of a whole bunch of townhomes that was built about 5 years ago, 5 to 7 years ago, like there's a really good chance a good percentage of those people went right to the builder. They didn't have an agent. They bought a townhome, and it's 5 years later. They might be ready for their next step, right? So I want to farm that area, and I want those people to know that I'm a realtor that's ready to help them with that next step. So that can be door knocking in the area. Even if you never get a listing in that neighborhood or you haven't yet, watch for listings in that area. You can set yourself up on a little like listing alert on the MLS so you get a notice when a listing comes up. I would be calling that agent saying, can I do the open house? It doesn't have to be a KW agent. It can be whoever lists a home in that area. I would say, hey, this is an area I'm hoping to do more business. Do you mind if I do your open house for you? I will get flyers out. I will market this open house. I will make sure, you know, everyone knows that they're having an open house, and I'll host it for you. But then that gives you an opportunity to take flyers out in the neighborhood, to knock on those doors. And then you get to say, hey, I know most neighbors are really interested in knowing what the home next door ends up selling for. can I reach back out to you when it sells and let you know what the final sell price is? Like, that's your in for getting their name, their phone number, and having something of value you get to give back to them in a month when that home is sold. And then, like, that's a great type of area to farm because there's a really good chance they didn't have a real estate agent to begin with. And there's a really good chance they're ready to make their next step if they've been in a townhome for 5 to 7 years. Or, you know, maybe a starter home area or something like that, a new build area. Just so, or maybe it's just a neighborhood that you're like, I know a lot of people in this area and I would like to be the realtor of choice in this area, you know. But when there's a reason that a lot of people might be considering a move, like that would be a great geographical area to farm. But it can be a little bit more expensive because, you know, you probably need a little bit more printed material or something because they don't know you and you probably don't have their phone numbers and email addresses, right? You can search the county records and get all of their physical addresses so that you can mail things out to them on a regular basis too. So that way you can get at least names, addresses, add them all into your database, tag them as your farm. Okay. And then let's kind of move on to, like, you know, a little bit more of that one-on-one follow-up. Like, we have a lead or we have a friend or family member in our SOI. What do we say when we make those phone calls? Have you guys heard of the Ford script at all yet? So super simple. And that's the thing too. Sometimes we tend to overcomplicate this one. Like, we just want to keep it super, super simple. Yeah. So I'm just, you know, calling, and of course, if it's somebody I know, I usually don't even have to introduce myself. What I like to do is I like to, like, if I haven't had any actual contact with them recently, I'm going to stalk them on social media a little bit first, and then I'm going to call them and be like, hey, I saw that so-and-so graduated. Like, that's awesome. And, yeah, like, you know, are you still working at the hospital? Have you guys been on any cool vacations lately? And yeah, you guys have anything like on your bucket list to do this summer? So it's kind of funny, or like dreams, like, you know, what are we talking about? Dreams, like, keep it simple, you know, like, is there, anything from your bucket list you guys are going to do? Or you guys, if you knew that they had some big plan, you know, like, I know you guys wanted to, you know, move to the East Coast or something, you know, is that still on your dreams or on your radar or whatever it might be? So just super simple, but it's funny how if we're not actually having these conversations, if we try to have them and we haven't like practiced and gotten really familiar with it, then it feels really uncomfortable. So 100% practice having those conversations. Do it with each other, with friends, family, and then, but at the same time, don't take too much time. Just start making the calls. Like, we all have our sphere, we all have our people, and 99.9% of the time, you don't have to bring up real estate. They're going to ask you about real estate. If you've put out there on social media or anything else that, hey, I got my license, or hey, I joined Keller Williams, they're all going to ask you about real estate, right? And if they don't know that you're in real estate, they're going to ask you the same questions. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing now that the kids are all, you don't have anybody at home during the day? What are you doing now? And then you get to talk about real estate, right? So 99.9% of the time, real estate will naturally come into the conversation. If, you're calling and this is a care call. I would call it a care call. So that's what I'm doing when I call my SOI. I'm giving them a care call. OFQ. So that has been one that I have been working on, and it's just having a simple opening statement, stating a fact, and then an easy, simple question. So, hey, this is Tana from Keller Williams. Thanks so much for taking my call. I don't know if you remember, but we met at an open house Saturday in Springville. You came into that cute little townhouse that I was at. Do you remember that? And then, oh yeah, or whatever. Maybe they do, maybe they don't remember me. And an easy question. Did you go to any other open houses that day? Are you guys still browsing for homes? Simple question.